I like playing video games. They're fun. Here are a few games that I dug out of the trash, but wait, first, I got a CD, because I also like music, and I found a Ben Queller CD. You like that? You are all clamoring for a review of a Ben Queller record. Okay, say bye to the CD, bye CD, and say hi to Splashdown, which is completely thrashed. It looks like somebody left it out in the sun for who knows how long. There's even some possible norovirus up in the upper left corner there. I think I'm getting close to owning every jet ski game available for the original Xbox, because those were very popular around the time. And it started with Rave Race, Rave Race, the Nintendo 64, and then they put one out for the GameCube, and kind of created its own little niche, kind of like volleyball games, which I actually want to get into eventually. There's a lot of good volleyball games out there for this console generation. Maybe somebody should combine volleyball and jet ski games. That'll be a lot of fun. Wait, it just popped in my head. Didn't one of the Dead or Alive Extreme games have a jet ski minigame or something like that? Am I remembering that correctly? I'm probably not, but I would like to see that idea implemented. Somebody, please, if you are listening and you make video games, make like a summer vacation a tropical vacation kind of game where you could play volleyball, you could go jet skiing, and it's all really fun and lighthearted. You're not looking at it anymore, but the front cover of the copy I purchased, it does look like it was left in the sun for some considerable amount of time. And I think this is the case because if you turn it over, it's actually in pretty good shape, and the inside contents are in even better shape. The manual looks really good, and the disc was flawless. I looked at it, and plays great, and it looked great. It looked like it's never been played, so somebody probably did leave it out in the windowsill, and then they never returned to it. So I'm looking at the manual now, and this game has a soundtrack, and it's got a couple of Sum 41 songs in it, and guess what? There's also Smash Mouth All-Star in this game, so I'm really surprised at how much this band is coming up in games that I'm playing, and I even found one. I even found one of their CDs and showed it in a previous episode of this show. But yeah, this soundtrack has Sum 41, Smash Mouth, Newfound Glory, so this is really the pinnacle of mainstream pop-punk music in the early 2000s. My goodness. I gotta say, there's more too. There's the Donnas, KMFDM, Groovy Ghoulies. That's actually surprising, because they never were like a charting band. But I have a few of their albums. They're quite good. Splashdown. Down. Next, Rocky, just in time for the new Creed movie, which I'm looking forward to. I really liked the first Creed movie. I like all the Rocky movies. It's one of my favorite film series. This is one of those games that is, you gotta be careful, because it has real footage from the movies, and we all know how well the copyright algorithms work nowadays. The timing of this game is actually pretty interesting. It is from 2002 for the copyright on the back of the box, and that was a full 4 years before Rocky Balboa debuted in theaters, the 6th movie in the series. There was even a sequel to this game called Rocky Legends, which I have not played, but I'm playing this one right now, and it's a boxing game. So if you like boxing games, this is the one for you. Boxing games are weird because technically they're fighting games. They're also sports games, and I know how weird people get about sports, because I understand you don't like them, and you like quests and virtual worlds better, which I completely understand, but I'm somebody who enjoys many of the meats of our cultural stew. Not all of them, but sports are a spectacle like video games are, like concerts are, and I like sports. I like sports games. I have no problem with it. I never really played sports. And speaking of sports, before I forget, you're listening to the FIFA 95 soundtrack, and this is an excellent soundtrack. And I gotta say, archive.org, if you're looking for some good music, go on there. They have a bunch of video game soundtracks, and they're awesome. And the one that's playing in the background of this episode is really good. FIFA 95 for the Sega Genesis. It has that great Genesis sound. The Sega Genesis had this gritty synthesizer kind of feel to it, and it's like, I know that the Super Nintendo technically had like a better sound processing thing on it, but the Genesis had a very distinctive sound, and this one uses it to the fullest. It is an excellent soundtrack, and I have the link to it below. Check it out. But never a fighter, never a boxer, never a mixed martial artist. I did do a little bit of Little League, so I guess saying that, oh, I never did sports is false. But Rocky, fighting game, sports game, movie game. It occupies a lot of different spaces. That concludes the Xbox portion of this program. Next up, another movie game. This time it's based off of Shrek, the third Shrek. I've seen Shrek number 1, I've seen Shrek number 2, but I have not seen any of the other movies or their spin-offs. So I feel a little weird about playing this one, but what you're seeing right now, I actually took a little bit of a different approach here. Instead of going into the main game and, you know, skipping through cutscenes, figuring out how the game works, I actually went to the mini games first, which is actually something I like to do. I like to go into the extras of the game before I actually get into the core gameplay itself. And that's what I did here, and what I found was a Frogger-style minigame. It's actually pretty cool. It uses platforming mechanics in tandem with Frogger's gameplay mechanics. And then there's this shuffleboard thing, and this pirate ship thing, and it was all very playable, actually. It seemed pretty fun, but it is not the meat and potatoes of the game. This I am aware. And from what I've seen, this isn't going in my cringe compilation. Not at all. Shrek the Third seems like a game. At the very least, it seems like a game that works. I would feel a little weird about reviewing this, considering that I did not see the movie, but nobody really talks about Shrek the Third. People talk about the first two. So is the third one not really that special? Is it not that great? Next is WWE Smackdown versus Raw 2000. Yeah, 2006. I had to look over and make sure I got the year right, because yeah, that would be embarrassing if I got it wrong. I've gotten titles wrong, like I called Cabela's Trophy Bucks Trophy Hunts in the Rumble Roses review that I did. And I have a little something planned for all those Cabela's games that I own for some reason. Oh man, there's a ton of those. Just like there are a ton of WWE, these WWE versus SmackDown versus Raw games. And if you look at this, the character models look better than the 2K19 character models. And this is a PlayStation 2 game. Just look how excellently these characters are rendered. They look great. And this game is old. This game's really old. It's not as old as another wrestling game that I reviewed earlier this year, Smackdown, Here Comes the Pain, released in 2003. Great game. But that also had really good character models that pretty much nailed the real-life representation of the wrestlers at that time. But this is a game I think was released in 2005, because the titles are always a year ahead if they have a year in their title. So this came out a couple of years later, and it shows they definitely improved the character models. And I get requests to do more wrestling games, reviews of wrestling games, because there's a lot of them. A lot of people have played them, and they're fun. There's a lot of content in them usually. When I recorded this, I set up a match between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, and this was the last game to be released while Eddie Guerrero was alive. He died in late 2005, which is a shame. Here we have another PlayStation 2 game, and it'll be the last one for this episode of Thrift Store Finds. The Getaway. 1 or 2 requests have been sent to me to review this game, and I'm playing it now. And I gotta admit, this game really had its way with me. I'm not very good at this game so far. Usually I could jump in and figure it out, but this one gave me fits. It gave me trouble. The first little stretch of it, I did not get very far. And I don't know if I review this game, if this is the game that wins. By the way, vote for which game you want me to review next out of the selections featured on this episode, and I will do so as soon as I can. I don't like to review games that I'm bad at because I know that it's my problem with the game. I don't enjoy my experience with the game, but I can tell that it's on my end, not it's to no fault of the game itself. And it also prevents me from beating it or getting close to beating the game. Going back to wrestling games for a minute, people have requested that I review one of the Fire Pro Wrestling games, which I do have one. I actually bought a Fire Pro Wrestling game for the PlayStation 2 before I even started reviewing games. And I want to get good at Fire Pro Wrestling, but it's very hard. It's unlike any other wrestling game I've played. So I completely admire it for its insane amount of customization options. And not too long ago, they put one out for the computer, for PCs, so it's still around, and it's something that I want to be a part of. It's just that I'm not. This is another game that I'm not very good at, and that makes me feel bad. With that out of the way, here are the 5 games featured in this episode, and Ben Queller. There's Ben Queller right there in that stack that you're looking at. That's the only one not up for a vote. I'm not going to leave that to fate. I'll leave the rest of the 5 games up to you. What do you want me to review? The top vote getter will be the next Thrift Store Finds winner I review. And then there will be another episode and another episode. I got plenty of episodes of this show queued up. I just have to play the games and make sure they work and record them. Record the commentary, record the video, and put it up. Again, link to the poll is below, and you get to decide, the plurality of you. Possibly. It could be a majority. One of these games could get 50%. Who knows? That is all for now. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening to me ramble on about stupid stuff nobody cares about. And I'll talk to you later.